What's going on, guys? My name's Theoatrix, and today I'm presenting a new episode of a mini-series where I discuss how old updates before the evolution of combat would fit into the nature of the current old school RuneScape. If you want to see all of the episodes, there's a link to the playlist down below. Back in 2015, the Old School RuneScape team discussed whether Stealing Creation and Soul Wars would ever come to Old School. Mod Matt K said that the Old School team would prefer to make better mini-games.
In regards to Stealing Creations, I think we could probably make better mini-games. I'd rather put our effort into making those, quite frankly.
Personally, I don't really agree with Mod Matt K. Stealing Creation is an incredibly well thought out and very diverse minigame. It incorporates almost every skill into one single game while still having a strong PvP aspect, and that's a quality that no other minigame in Old School has. Mod Ash's take on it was that Old School shouldn't follow the path of RS3's updates and would prefer to be unique in the content that's released.
I always prefer it when we're taking Old School in a direction that isn't just a carbon copy of what RS3 did.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of things in RS3 that are popular and great updates and hey, resizable mode.
Yeah.
But it's also good when we get to do something different. So rather than just copying Nex, for example, we created Zora as a new piece of content that's unique to Old School.
Absolutely.
Mod Ash saying that they don't want to follow RS3's updates is something to think about, since Old School is nowhere near similar to the direction that RuneScape went in back in the day, with things like summoning, dungeoneering, and graphical changes not being added. So adding these older updates would be a bit out of the ordinary in terms of Old School's updates, but that argument becomes slightly invalid when you take a look at some of Old School's updates. The game snapshot that was used to make Old School is from August 10, 2007. Stealing Creation came out on the 11th of November 2008, so a year and 3 months later. 2 months before Stealing Creation came out, the Corporal Beast was introduced to RS2, and Corp is currently a really popular piece of content in OSRS that was added in as a game update. There's also a huge range of other ideas that came from RS3. Rocktails are almost identical to Anglerfish. There's the Staff of Light, there's the high tier boots that were all originally from back in the day. Tormented Demons have almost identical mechanics to Demonic Gorillas in Old School, and Adamant and Rune Dragons were originally from RS3. I think that Stealing Creation has every right to come to Old School if the only argument against it is that Old School shouldn't follow RS3, because that has not been the case with a lot of updates. Only recently we saw Darkmire and Prifdinus added, two huge Old School updates that again were both ideas originally from RS3 far before they came to Old School. A strong argument for these updates though is that they are embedded into the lore of the game, and not adding them would be ignoring and pretty much discrediting the lore that's surrounding the quests and cities of these areas. These two places were just blank spaces on the Old School map that no one could access, but the lore found in the in-game books and the quest logs talk about these cities coming to life. So these two updates do make sense to come to Old School, but there's still so many other ones that don't really have a strong reason. For those that forget how the minigame works, here's a quick refresher. In a large square-shaped arena, two teams go against each other in a race to deposit as much sacred clay at their base as possible. You could collect sacred clay by visiting the smaller square resource areas. There were 10 different small square variations. Fragment deposits, which any player with any skill level could use to collect clay. There was mining rocks, trees to woodcut, a pool for fishing, bug swarms for hunter. There were the kilns to process your clay, altars to charge your prayer and energy. There was fog, which let players hide away where they couldn't be attacked. And there was a rift, wall, and large rock, which could be used to trap your enemies as you ran away. So there were 5 tiers of clay that you could collect, each tier having a higher skill level requirement to be able to obtain them. You could then process the clay by visiting one of the kilns, and here you could make weapons and armor to protect yourself from the enemies. You could make skilling tools like pickaxes and harpoons, as well as food and a range of combat boosting potions. For me, Stealing Creation is the most nostalgic old update that I've made a video on so far. I spent hours and hours playing this minigame, not just for the rewards, but for the broad range of activities that were involved. Stealing Creation makes use of almost every skill in the game, and the only skills left out are firemaking, slayer, and farming. As I mentioned, you could gather clay through mining, woodcutting, hunter, or fishing. You could use your thieving to steal clay from the opposing team by pickpocketing players. You could use your agility to get away from enemies by jumping over the rifts and the walls. You could use your construction to create barriers that block the enemy from entering certain areas. A high smithing level allowed you to make better sacred clay weapons and armor. With rune crafting, you could make elemental and catalytic runes to use magic within the minigame. Herb lore was used to create the potions, cooking for the food, fletching was used to create bows and arrows, crafting to create ranged and magic armor, and of course the combat skills were used to protect yourself or to go and kill enemies. Summoning was also a part of the minigame, where you could make clay familiars that could hold sacred clay for you. Using the summoning scrolls, it would send the clay back to your base to be deposited, saving you from running back to your base in order to gain points. Obviously, summoning isn't in Old School, so this is something that would need some reworking or rethinking if the minigame was to come to the game. Perhaps the summoning part of the minigame could still exist, but only within the minigame and nowhere else. Or they could easily just remove the summoning concept entirely, since it doesn't really affect the overall gameplay or how the minigame works. The rewards from Stealing Creation are probably the most controversial to consider if they were to come to Old School, although these rewards can of course be removed or changed if they were to come. You could get 5 different rewards from the points you earned by playing, and all of the rewards gave some sort of double experience. There were Volatile and Morphic Tools, as well as Morphic Armor and Weapons. I'll start with the Morphic Armor. You could buy Morphic body, leg, or head armor, and being Morphic, it meant that you could select which type of armor you wanted, whether it's melee, ranged, or magic. Wearing this armor, even just one piece of the armor gave double experience when you're using its corresponding attack style. So if you were just wearing the Morphic coif, for example, along with the rest of your range setup, you'll be getting double XP. Each piece of Morphic gave 25k of bonus XP, so you could gain 25k of normal experience, and you'd end up with 50k including that double XP before the item degrades. So there was also Morphic Weapons with a staff, scimitar, or a bow, and again they all gave 25k of double XP. Then there was the Morphic Tools, where you could choose from 7 different items to transform the tool into. So you could get double XP in mining, woodcutting, hunter, fishing, construction, smithing, fletching, or crafting, and all of these gave 25k bonus XP again before degrading. The odd one out was the Volatile Tools, and the difference with these is you couldn't select which tool you wanted. Instead, you're given a random tool, but with 5k more bonus XP, giving a total of 30 instead of 25k. All of these rewards ranged from 20 to 30 Stealing Creation reward points to buy them. You could actually receive up to 26 reward points per game, and each game went for a maximum of 20 minutes, and sometimes games would even end early when all of the Sacred Clay resource areas were depleted. So this meant you could easily get one of these rewards after just 20 minutes of gameplay, and that translates to around 3 of these rewards per hour. So with Morphic, you could get 75k in bonus XP an hour, or with Volatile, 90k, which is huge. To put that into perspective, imagine you're using the double XP pickaxe, or the Sacred Clay pickaxe. Let's say you're mining iron ore, and you're getting 70k XP per hour, which is a decent XP rate that needs quite a bit of focus. You could play 1 hour of Stealing Creation and get 3 Morphic pickaxes. Then your XP rate would be 140k per hour for a little over an hour. So you're literally better off going and playing Stealing Creation than going to train your mining only. You get more XP per hour over time. Basically, the double XP is way too powerful for Old School. It would change the original best possible training methods. Also, since there's no requirements to play Stealing Creation, very low level players could get their hands on these tools as well. This meant that the low-level training methods became considerably faster, and since the XP rates of low-level methods are already pretty slow, you're far better off going to Stealing Creation and getting one of these rewards rather than just solely training the skill. Bonus experience and double experience is not a thing in Old School like it is in RS3, and for good reason as well, since it takes away from the achievement of getting a high level and grinding for hours and hours. These rewards just won't fit in Old School and would receive a lot of backlash from the community. Jagex could completely rework these rewards and make them all cosmetic or make them have much less benefits. Or Jagex could keep these original rewards but make them require a lot more points, so it's nowhere near as fast to get one of these items, making the original skilling training methods still the best way to train. So this is my overall verdict of whether stealing creation belongs in Old School. It's an extremely diverse minigame with almost every skill involved, something that only the Gauntlet has been able to achieve minus the PvP. It would be an extremely nostalgic minigame for those players that used to play in 2008, which is pretty much everyone that's playing today. The summoning aspect of stealing creation will need some work, whether they just remove it completely or keep the summoning aspect but only within the minigame. The original rewards are far too powerful for Old School and would completely change how the game's played, affecting a lot of the fastest methods for certain skills. So what do you think? Does stealing creation belong in Old School? And how should Jagex approach the summoning aspect? And how should they change the rewards? Leave a comment down below. Before I end this video, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone that's been supporting my channel lately. I've gotten huge amounts of support on my recent videos. For those that haven't watched my Q&A, RuneScape has been a part of my life since I was 6 years old, and being able to make RuneScape videos to such a large audience is really a dream come true. I was looking back at some of my older videos the other day, and it's pretty insane to see how far my channel has come. I actually released my first Old School video on the same day that Old School Runescape was released to the public. I made a 1 to 99 combat training guide way back in 2013, and at the time I was only 12, so that video is pretty horrible and I'm the biggest squeaker in it, but yeah, it's insane to see how far my channel has come since those days.
Now, training. Levels 1 to 20, goblins or cows are recommended, and they're located at Lumbridge, north of Lumbridge. Levels 20 to 40 or 60 if you're a pure is rock crabs, and they're north of Relica next to the ocean.
So thank you again everyone for your support, and also thanks for watching today's video.